My name is Dr. Ian Storch. I'm a board-certified gastroenterologist and osteopathic physician, and you are listening to DO or Do Not. If you are interested in joining our team or have suggestions or comments, please contact us at doordonotpodcast.com. Share our link with your friends and like us on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you enjoy this episode.
My name is Aaron Plummer. I'm a pre-med student at the University of Central Florida, and you're listening to the DO or Do Not podcast. This week, we are joined by Dr. Lisa Warren, Dean of Western University of Health Sciences, College of Osteopathic Medicine of the Pacific, or COMP for short, and COMP Northwest. Dr. Warren discusses the unique student experiences across the dual campuses and Western U's commitment to preparing students for future healthcare challenges. She emphasizes the importance of humanism, collaboration, and compassion within the Western U community. Dr. Warren reflects on her healthcare upbringing and her passion for serving underserved communities. As a former student athlete, she shares how teamwork influenced her pursuit of osteopathic medicine and the holistic approach to patient care. Tune in to hear how her experiences shape her leadership in guiding future osteopathic physicians. I'm confident you'll find Dr. Lisa Warren's insights inspiring as you navigate your own journey in medicine.
You are listening to DO or Do Not. My name is Shelby Mills. I am a fourth-year medical student at Western University, COMP Northwest. And today we are with Dr. Lisa Warren, who is Dean of Western University of Health Sciences, COMP and COMP Northwest. Dr. Warren, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about Western University, what the school does and what makes it stand out? Can you tell us about the surrounding areas of the schools?
Western University of Health Science is one of the most comprehensive professional graduate schools that is training different variety of healthcare professions. There are 8 colleges, the College of Osteopathic Medicine being one of those and one of the largest in the university. We are also a 2-campus university, a California campus as well as an Oregon campus. And in the College of Osteopathic Medicine, we have a campus in Pomona as well as one in Oregon. What is unique about Western U is just really this ability to train and engage our students in the communities that it's in, as well as working with our other healthcare professional colleagues across the different disciplines, really giving our medical students a diverse experience of not only what it will be to be a physician, but also how to work in a collaborative and a caring approach towards taking care of patients. And that is the foundation of the core values, the core ethos of Western U is the humanism, compassion approach in healthcare and healthcare education. So what's unique about them, both campuses are very diverse in the populations that it serves. In the Pomona, very urban environment, it's just in Los Angeles County with that millions of patient population. And with that has its unique opportunities really to deliver care. And then in Lebanon, Oregon is a much more rural community in Southern Oregon. And with that has its additional flavor that it brings in how to train our students, to be able to learn a different style or at least be a part of a community that is different than Pomona. And with that, and one thing that I'm super passionate about is really bridging those two experiences together so that our students from both campuses can share those perspectives and really get a very broad lens of what it takes to really take care of patients from diverse backgrounds, communities, experiences.
Yeah, they sound like very different locations and campuses, and it's cool to see bridge between the two. You mentioned that Western has these 2 campuses. What do you see as the benefits of this? And are there any disadvantages? And also, do pre-medical students apply to both, or are they separate applications?
I mean, I think I always try to look at the glass half full. There's a ton of advantages. One, it's, as I mentioned, it just gives our students, our faculty, a broader lens of what it takes to train a student, as well as how to deliver care for our patients. And so, with that, if you're exposed, if you have experiences that provide that opportunity, then with it is such an advantage to be able to do that. And then we also have the opportunity for students as well as our faculty and staff to be able to bridge those experiences by coming on campus. So we have inter-campus opportunities for students to come down to Pomona or to go up to Oregon, however you are looking in the lens you're at. Our faculty do come and travel to deliver education, experiences, workshops, retreats and things like that, just so that they can get to know the community that they're collaborating, teaching for the full student and college kind of initiatives. Disadvantages, we just miss seeing them. I miss not being, honestly, I think part is we really love our students. I mean, that's our mission. Our mission is to train our healthcare professionals. And with it can't be everywhere all the time. And so for me as dean, when I'm on the Pomona campus, I miss my Lebanon, my Comp Northwest students. And when I'm at Comp Northwest, I feel the same way. And I know our faculty feel the same way too. They want to have a relationship with all of our students, and distance does kind of create that crevice. So for the application process, we have an application process that you do apply, and then you have a secondary, you designate which is your primary campus that you will be applying to. So those pre-med students that are interested, we do encourage them to explore where is a good fit. They can apply to both. And so with that, then be able to, when they get through that process, they'll have to prioritize one over the other. But I think that's what we do offer. A really unique opportunity is that the curriculum, the general experiences are shared amongst both, but yet where the environment is that you're going to thrive, you get to pick between these two very diverse physical locations and experiences that may best fit for you as a pre-med student who's looking to find your home for education.
So you mentioned the curriculum is shared. So students are taking the same classes at both campuses, or what does that look like?
We deliver a curriculum that is shared amongst both campuses. How it is delivered is dependent on our faculty. And so there are live lectures in person that get streamed from one campus to the other. It may be a recording, maybe a workshop. And so when there are these hands-on workshops, we have teams on both campuses that represent those pieces of curriculum. And with that, there's this communication of this is what we're talking about. So we will mirror one experience to the other. That could be similar, for example, our simulation center. We cannot stream one or really have, it just does not provide the experience that is the learning objectives that are required for that. But yet we have two teams that communicate so beautifully together, in which they can say, this is the learning objectives. We're using the same resources, tools, and then the dedicated faculty then deliver what is necessary at that point. But it's given same days, same experiences as they progress along their preclinical portion during their first 2 years. And then when they transition out into their clinical rotations, then they stay on the same academic rotation cycle too.
That's cool to see the collaboration in the curriculum being shared. Obviously, two very separate campuses have to kind of do their own thing, but it's cool to see how you work together between the campuses. And you mentioned the clinical years. Can you tell us where the students at your school rotate during their third and fourth year? And do you have strong clinical affiliations?
Our third and fourth year are very strong. We have really strong partnerships with healthcare systems, some that have been very long-standing since nearly the inception of the university, and others that have been developed primarily out of a strong interest because of our osteopathic students who have become faculty at those organizations, and they want to partner with our university because of wanting to develop pipelines, so we say, for their health system as well as for their communities, knowing how strong that our students are as they progress into their training. So we have partnerships in Oregon through our partners that are there in close proximity, as well as in some distance from the campus at Comp Northwest. And with that have been core rotation sites for our students, such as Samaritan Health System is one of our biggest partners, as well as some others that are there in the region. And we are also always looking to partner with other health systems in the area that could provide those strong clinical sites and ties to the community that really best fit our mission to how we want to train our students. And also, I'll just put a plug, because many of our students are from the Northwest region, and with that want to be geographically close to their families, or perhaps even be a site that they would like to do their graduate medical education training. So as much as we can provide those opportunities to where do their first 2 years in one area, but not have to have so much traveling, is our most ideal situation to be able to provide that experience for our students. In the Pomona area, we have strong partnerships with local county hospital systems for core sites out in the desert, in the Palm Springs desert. We have a Desert Regional Hospital system in which our students rotate there. We have Community Memorial Health System, in which has been a strong partnership over the years in taking a large portion of our students. And then we also have Kern Medical Center, in which has been a great partner over the last couple of years, taking a large cohort of our students, and that's in the Bakersfield area. And we also have many other sites, many other partners. I bring these ones up in particular because they have been year-long tracks, and that is really what our strive is to provide students to stay in one place for a full year with a large cohort of their colleagues, to one, make it to their best well-being, and to be able to have a home in a training site, to be able to have a cohort of students that they feel a part of instead of being isolated in one-off experiences, to be able to really embed in the community and give in a meaningful way. In that sense, meaning they're there doing their rotation experience, whether at family medicine, internal medicine, peds, OB, surgery, whichever. But then as they have these weekends and evenings, or however their schedules are laid out, they can do health fairs or participate in the community, or do community projects or research projects that take more time. And with that, then can have that space to do elective opportunities and really build on who they are, and then also be able to give back to the space that they're in. So we're fortunate. The nice thing is that our students are not fixed geographically. So if you're at Comp Northwest and you want to participate and do rotations in the Southern California area through one of these tracks, that is open, and vice versa. So with it isn't fixed, but it tends to be a preference more than anything, or a priority, just because the campuses are there, and that's where they were chosen. But we do have, even currently, quite a significant percentage of Comp Northwest students who are rotating in Southern California this year. And I think it's great. And then they get to mix with inter-campus mix starts to really develop, and relationships start to develop.
Yeah, back to bridging those campuses. So it sounds
Exactly.
like there's a lot of options for students, which is really cool and sets them up well. What has the match been like for those students and for the past few years, both geographically and by specialty?
Yeah, we've been so fortunate to have such a great success with match and placement. And there are many reasons. One, we have an amazing faculty. I just am so proud of our faculty and staff who really pour into our students, because it starts from the moment that you're a pre-med student.
Mm.
It comes through picking the right space for you. And then as you're there, starting to really integrate into opportunities to really identify who you are as a medical student and as a healthcare provider in there. So then you're starting to really develop your physician identity. And in that starts to come through with the mentorship from your faculty. We also have an Office of Career and Professional Development that has an integrated curriculum from day one through the placement of students into residency programs. And so there's content that's delivered. There is preparation for residency documentation, residency interviews, all of that on top of our strong clinical departments or clinical chairs departments who provide that specialty specific mentorship that is needed to really help our students through the path of the specialty they're interested in. So our placement rate over the last 2 years have been 100%. So every student who was seeking graduate medical education has received a GME position. We are very strong in primary care, and with that we've ranged between 55 to 57% of our students place into primary care. And when I say primary care, because we always want to qualify what that means, that is internal medicine, family medicine, and pediatrics. And so, and where is it's all over the country. We have our students placed everywhere. And in it, though, interestingly, too, is, and I'll say this for both campus, about 70 to 75% of our graduates place in California and Oregon, respective to campus. So if you're a Comp Northwest students, that percentage is in that region. And those that are in California, we have a large percentage of students who similarly place in California. But we have them all over the country, and in nearly all specialties. It varies each year by year based on student interest or what is in the wave of the news. But we've had a student place into nearly every single specialty over the last 5 years. So we have, as I mentioned, the top 3, but our next top specialties these last couple of years have also been anesthesia, emergency medicine, psychiatry. Those tend to be our biggest specialties, but we also have a large percentage in OBGYN, physical medicine and rehabilitation. We've had students, of course, mentioned to diagnostic radiology, all the surgical specialties. So we have such just a really strong presence and alumni out there who are all these specialties. And I just want to really emphasize that really the world is your oyster, so to speak. If you have the passion and interest, we have we have faculty who can help mentor a student towards that path of interest. But it does start very early on just because of the competitive nature and landscape of residency placement.
Wow. Well, a lot to be proud of for Western U there, especially that 100% is hard to beat. So congratulations. You touched earlier on a lot of the cool things that Western has to offer, but just if there's anything else that you think makes Western University stand out as a comm and why a student would choose to go to your school.
There's so many things. I think we highlighted so many of them already, but I will just sort of encapsulate it in a nutshell. We're a very established comm with an amazing faculty, staff, alum who are truly dedicated towards the mentorship and the guidance and the education of our students. We are singularly visioned, and our mission is all centered around the student, which I think it can be very different in other places where there are other secondary interests. But with that, we have diverse student experiences. We have a comprehensive simulation center. We have experiences that we're always trying to stay ahead towards ensuring that our students are educated to what is going to be needed, not just now, but what is going to be needed 5, 10, 15 years from now, so that they feel fully equipped and ready to take care of their patients moving forward. And in that, that is just something I feel very proud of, that personalization, that mentorship is a unique flavor. And that really comes down to the center of what our ethos, our culture is, which is humanism, collaboration, and compassion towards not only ourselves, but also our students and our community and our patients. Yeah.
To go back in time a little bit, can you tell us about you and where Dr. Lisa Warren grew up? Where did you go to undergraduate school? When did you decide to pursue a career in medicine?
So for me, I may share a lot of similar threads with many of those individuals out there, but I'm fortunate to have been exposed to medicine since ever. My dad's a pediatrician. So with that, you grew up in a home. I grew up in a home that helped conversations about patients and health were always talked about. And as you grow up, you always try to really find your own personal identity, even irrespective of what your family brings to the table. But you have to find your own voice, your own space. So I am one of 4 siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. And all of us in looking now, we're all in healthcare in different divisions of healthcare in other healthcare professions. But I think that started with just those early conversations at the table. And my mom, she grew up in very poor Mexico, underserved area. And that in speaking Spanish and having my family who still all lives down in Mexico and being sort of exposed to a whole different life and way of living really gave an appreciation to underserved communities. So for me, it's always been that I've underserved Hispanic culture has been sort of my embedded life growing up, as well as having this immersion in the healthcare field early on. So it was always there. I knew I loved teaching. I always thought, well, if I couldn't be a physician, what would I do? Well, I would have been probably a teacher. And so here I am at a medical school doing both. So that's the beauty of it. I grew up in Southern California for the most part in Riverside, and so that is just 40 minutes from the Pomona campus. And then I went to undergraduate at Pomona College, which is in Claremont, just up the street, like 10 minutes from the Western U campus. I chose that particularly because it's excellent school, but also I'm an athlete. And with it, I had the opportunity to play soccer all 4 years and run track. And so and it was a small community. I just thrive in small environments. And so I wanted to really get to know my campus, to get to know my fellow colleagues, and also be very challenged educationally. So that was why that worked. And that's where I learned, honestly. And when I applied to medical school, that's the medical school advisor was very supportive. And actually, at the time, his wife, so my medical school advisor in Pomona College, his wife was one of our microbiologist professors at Western U. And so with that was really promoting comp at the time to the students at Pomona College. And so with it, that's actually that, as well as through my father who works with DOs in his clinic, was how I really got to learn about osteopathic medicine and then was able to come and really embrace it. And partly it was because for me growing up, the osteopathic philosophy of mind, body, spirit, and the body has the ability to heal itself was just everything I had always grown up to believe. And I think in part that comes from being an athlete, just how much important nutrition is, how much sleep is, how much for self-care, as well as the physical and the environment around you. It really optimizes your performance, but performance is very relative to just being your best authentic self. So that always was in my mindset, and how much it really resonated with me when I interviewed at Comp as a pre-med student. And it just was where I knew I needed to be and serve and train and start my career.
Sounds like some early exposure to osteopathic medicine and kind of that holistic mindset kind of guided you. And obviously, location guided you to comp too. How was your time in medical school, and when and why did you decide to pursue pediatrics? I know you talked a little bit about your father.
For me, my time, while you're in the trenches, so to speak, or while you're there, you just have this probably overwhelming sense of in knowledge, and maybe even insecurity of your placement, and sort of how do you fit comparatively to others. I know I had that. It was such a steep learning curve, but one of the things that really stood out in my experience as a medical student was just how much the student body, the community of the students, was so collaborative and so willing to support each other through one of the toughest times in a stage of life. It's a lot of self-identity just generally, but also to go through a very rigorous experience of learning and then seeing very difficult things. Having such a great friendships and support from my fellow peers is how I survived. In it too, I was very fortunate to have met my husband in medical school. So that was a big bonus. But even beyond that, there's so many friends that I have cherished and still keep in touch with over the years. And that has been such a blessing. And that is something that I have heard that similar sentiment even with our current cohorts of students, that there's still that sense of community collaboration within each of the classes that I think at times could have been lost. But it's just, again, it goes back to what is the culture, and that is the culture of Western U. And so that is something that I'm super proud of. How I got into pediatrics, so in part it was, I am not going to do exactly what my family does. You want to pave your own way. Though I did embed into a lot of service learning, service experiences that were pediatric centric, but because of my love of sports, there were fields that I was considering, ortho or family medicine with sports emphasis, and so you try to keep as much of an open mind as you can with, and as it really just gets embedded sometimes until not until your third year when you're on rotations. And not that any of them were not pleasant. I loved all my clinical experiences. I still even reflect on some of those experiences now, even 25 years later, because I don't get to step in an OR regularly, but those experiences that you still have the memory of what it felt like, looked like, smelt like, the impact that you had on those patients. But when I was on pediatrics, it was so much fun getting to be able to be there with I just love the diverse age range. Super challenging to how to interact with a neonate and the family in the NICU, all the way up to a late adolescent, and trying to work through their own personal issues and help them transition into adulthood. And for me, outpatient pediatrics is just fun because of that component, and just being able to not know really what's behind that door. I mean, I know through the chief complaint or whatever the scheduling is, but to not know exactly, where those conversations are going to take you, but able to take my teacher mindset and be able to really engage with the family and help support them through. That was just what I loved as a student, and just what I really love about being a pediatrician still at heart is still having that opportunity to really make impact, or just really reassure families that what they're doing is fine. They're doing okay. And help guiding them through fine tuning them along the path of raising a child. So that's why I chose pediatrics, is really that third year experience really solidified that passion in knowing this is where I belong, though I did love everything else.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot of varied passions and different experiences, but that teaching and guiding seems to really be your calling. What was your application process to residency like, and how did you choose your program? And can you tell us about your residency experience?
So mine is a very unique one, partly because, as I mentioned earlier, I met my husband in medical school. So we went through the journey of when we were applying that we were couples matching. And so that was the intention. And, that's its own beast in itself, so to speak, because at the time he was applying anesthesia. And so with it was a lot to try to find programs that were both ideally in the same hospital system, and also geographically that would work for us. So we had several hubs of areas that we were focused on interviewing, and we went on our interviews actually surprisingly at the time separately. Just scheduling is always a tricky part. And then it comes match. So during match week so we applied through at the time there was an AOA, and then there were the ACGME programs. But because we were couples matching and because I was pediatric, there were not a lot of AOA pediatric programs at the time. And so we wanted to increase our opportunity to couples match. I was in the ACGME and so NRMP match. So that match, you find out on Monday whether you matched or not, and then that following Friday, and this is still true to the schedule now, but that you find out where you matched. So that Monday, we both found out we did not match. And so it was quite a testament to a lot of things. You get challenged. And this is something that I have to say to everyone is, if you know who you are at the core and what you're passionate about, and you can stay still focused and knowing that the path is still there, your route may not be linear, and that's okay, because the experiences along the way are what make you who you are. The resilience, your grit, your new diverse experience is what then allows you to maybe give back, or just to have a more open mindset. That day we found out, and it was crushing, honestly. It was I have a memory of, you have a memory of it imprinted in sort of your heart and your mind. But in it, we landed in for us, it landed in one of the most amazing healthcare systems possible for us. So I placed into and was given the position for med peds my first year at Baylor's. It's now called Baylor Scott and White, but Scott and White in Temple, Texas. And my husband was offered a position in family medicine. And we went there without knowing anything about the hospital system. Other than my dad, as a pediatrician, he did his residency in Oklahoma. And so he was aware of it, and so reassured us that everything will be okay. We were set to get married a month later. So, this whole process of trying to find a place where you're going to be together, it was just very, very, very difficult. But we stepped foot, we flew and landed there after we said committed to, yes, we're coming out. We flew and went to go see Temple, Texas. And the community and the people were just amazing. We felt so welcome. They reassured us. And those were one of the most treasured 10 years of my career, those first 10 years, because as a resident and staying on as faculty, where it was where we were meant to be. And with that, I really felt gracious. And so sometimes you just don't know where those paths take you, because the path, and I know there's in here we'll talk about, but that path led me to opportunities to be a chief resident and a residency program director, and it really gave me the flavor of what it is like to be an administrative leader. And Scott and White gave me that chance. And because of that, and of course, just passion and realizing I have these other gifts and talents in leadership is what led me to be here talking to you as dean of the medical school. So the journey, sometimes you don't know where that journey is going to take you, but you also have to have that trust that it's going to work out if you're true to yourself and what your passions are.
Wow, what a story of resilience. And I'm sure that was a very tough moment, but look at where it led you, and that's amazing. So, what was the first job you took after residency, and when did you decide on academics?
So it was, as I mentioned, I did med peds for a year, and though I loved internal medicine, it was just too much. I go, these are not two different fields, but two different fields. And they're just bouncing back. There are individuals who have gifts to be able to switch and turn from one to the other so quickly. And as I said, it was enough that I love the diversity of age, but at least it was pediatrics. And so I was offered the opportunity to be able to just switch to pediatrics only. So I completed my last 2 years in peds. And at that time, when we were closing, my husband and I, we were closing out our training programs, you decide, well, are we going to stay? Are we going to, where's our next opportunity? But I have two sons. And so my boys were born in Texas, and we already were starting to build a community and a life there. And we really wanted to stay. And so I was offered the chief resident position. So that honestly was my first job. I was working in the outpatient setting part-time, and then my other part-time job was supporting the program director in leading the residency or helping support through scheduling and all those components, as well as helping train the medical students that were rotating within the hospital on their PEDS clerkship. So that was really the biggest part of that job, was my first job. That was a 1-year commitment. And then after that, I just did clinical work. And then I was offered by the vice chair of education because an opening had come up for the residency program, and I had been already about 3-4 years out to consider taking the position of the residency program director. And, for me, I already knew the community, I knew the trainees, and I had great mentors. So with they, like I said, they really saw a gift and a talent in me and were willing to mentor me. Though the fourth year chief was a big piece of it, I think also the vice chair of education really taking a chance on me in taking that leadership role as the program director. And that's really what, since then, what's really anchored me to stay in academic medicine.
So, when did you become dean? And did this mean that you stopped practicing clinical medicine? And was that a difficult decision?
Yeah, I'm in the process of everything. So officially start July 1st. I'm 20 days in. Yes.
Yay.
It's been an amazing journey. I can't, you can't be everything everywhere all the time. And with that, you have to let go. So honestly, I'm a bit in a grieving stage of sort of letting go a big piece in some way of why I went into medicine was for patient care, and letting go a large piece of that has been a journey. I didn't decide applying for this position but 6 months ago. So it's been a very rapid transition. I always knew that this would likely be my path, or this was a path that I was striving for. When I came back to Western U, so as I mentioned, I was in Texas for 10 years. I came back to Western U in 2011 for an opportunity to be back at home, to be near family, and there are a lot of opportunities to practice medicine. There are a lot of opportunities to where you can really impact as a physician. But one of the most important criteria for me was to be in an organization where I can make an impact, where I wouldn't say autonomy, but I have some ways in which I can share my gifts and not being constrained into such a pigeonholed kind of role. And I wanted to be in academic medicine. And so that really narrowed those opportunities down quickly. But Western U and Comp opened up this space for my husband and I to both come back and serve. And when I stepped foot on campus, I had several initiatives that I really wanted to do and pour into. And in always, I mean, at least for me, over the course of my career, is always going, okay, I want to give and develop things, but sort of where is my path? Where is a potential path? Not that it's going to be that way, but how can I really develop the skills towards that perhaps end goal or goal, whatever it may be? And the dean is one of those, was one of those. So then how can I develop skills, experiences, leadership training to lead me towards it? So when I say that I applied just 6 months ago, no, I have actually been applying for the last 14 years towards this position. But in such a quick process of actually the application and the whole interview experience, the transition over the last month has been quite dramatic, because I'm no longer a faculty. I'm now this role as dean, so letting go that identity, letting go the identity of being a practicing I'm still a pediatrician at heart, but I'm not a practice pediatrician. I don't have a patient panel because you really have to be there daily. You have to be readily always available. And so it is very difficult. And there's moments like today, maybe, or as I speak through it, I get very tearful. But then it's also a tear of joy because I get to then immerse myself in a different way of sharing my gift. And that is the gift of mentoring my faculty and supporting them in their roles and our staff and all their development and voice and role, our alumni, and really engaging them to really know that we as Western U Comp are here and help support what their needs are. And then most importantly, the students, and ensuring that the learning experience, that the training, that just the community and support are all the best it can be as they are in this 4-year journey, but really lifelong journey because they're going to be alum, but wherever their next stage is, that they feel that they have all the tools, skills, talents, heart to transition into that as seamlessly as possible. And so knowing that and how I can use my creative gifts, my leadership skills, developing teams, those are kind of my big skill sets. And to be able to pour into that, I go, nope, I'm in the right place, the right time, and this is where I belong. And with that gives me still that reassurance that it's okay to let go of those others.
I'm sure this is such a transition. It's cool to see that it has been a vision for so long. And again, just speaking to your gifts and finding a new outlet for that is really, I'm sure it takes a lot of reflection and those moments come, but it's really cool to see. Can you tell us the main attribute that has contributed to your success and what is your superpower?
So the main contributor to my success, honestly, this is not about me. I think that's part of what it is. I am doing this role, it's really out of service. And when you are giving pure heart, this isn't for title, this is not for money, this isn't for position, for something else. This is truly because I want to serve in this way and pour all my energies towards that, then that's how I've been successful, is having that perspective, that lens, that mindset. And no matter how others may perceive it, I can still stand tall, however tall is. I can stand proud. I can have a clear conscience that at the end, I was just doing this because I love this organization. I love the students and my faculty and staff. And I am doing the best because I'm really just doing this for them. And that really helps in every position that I have been in. And it just gives me at least an open perspective to what are all the potential opportunities out there. And that's a bit of my superpower, is knowing, as long as we have this running joke. It's not even a running joke. We truly embody and believe this. And this came through my husband. And then we call it, it's Warren timing. And the Warren timing is you're in the right place at the right time for the right purpose. And if you can truly believe that, everything falls into place just fine. So we call it Warren timing. But I think part of my superpower is trusting in the people around me and developing them to be their best selves, because success comes from building teams. And if I pour into my team and really help them identify their talents and skills and have a vision, but also know that they have everything they need to really do their job well, everything comes together.
And finally, what is the best piece of advice you have been given from someone else that you found impactful in your career and would like to share with our listeners?
The best advice that I can give is be your authentic self. It is being very self-reflective. Who are you? Who do you want to be? And in it is just reflect on it regularly, almost every moment to moment as you're going along. This isn't a New Year's resolution or a new start to a beginning. No, this is a daily reflection of being yourself, because there are a lot of those around you that will tell you otherwise or have a lens of what they think you should be. And then you're sort of chasing that, and then you lose your identity along the way, or it's just you may not be in your right space to be able to and to be there. So listen to yourself, be true to yourself, share. And then the other part is share your gifts and talents with others. Don't be afraid to. There's the I'm a doctor piece, but there's more to ourselves than just being the physician. For me, as I shared, that's why it's important. But some are afraid to share those because there's this thought that you have to fit into this stereotypic mold, but that doesn't really exist. And also is too constraining. And our patients, our communities are in such dire need of wanting to have compassionate, humanistic physicians who are going to help change their lives for better. And that starts with us being true to ourselves.
That's really, really great. And I think rings true in medicine and outside of medicine, like you said. Just
Yes.
find out who you are and hold tight and reflect on that. So,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Warren, this has been great. Thank you so much for all of the insight. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all of the wisdom.
You're so welcome. This has been so much fun, Shelby. I really appreciate you just taking this time as well and being able to share my story, and hopefully will inspire many of those that are listening here today.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Dr. Warren, again.